Firefox fake news bandwagon is now a thing. Is it time to stop using Firefox and turn to Firefox alternatives? Let's find out. Imagine this. Two news articles are shared simultaneously online. The first is deeply reported and thoroughly fact-checked story from a credible news gathering organization, perhaps Le Monde, The Wall Street Journal, or Süddeutsche Zeitung. The second is a false or misleading story, but the article is designed to mimic content from a credible newsroom from its headline to its dissemination. Well, it will mean half the people will know the truth because Le Monde, The Wall Street Journal have no reason to lie whatsoever, while the other half will be misinformed, obviously. What do these three credible news gathering organizations have in common? Oh, that's right, they are left-leaning, well-established mainstream news organizations. You would expect something like this coming from social media giants like Facebook, Twitter, Google, or the European Union. But when these things are being unironically said on a blog site of the world's most successful open source project, we are in a deep trouble. Mozilla Foundation is a non-profit organization that was created in 2003 to pilot open source projects and guide principles of the free and open internet without restrictions on privacy, net neutrality, and digital rights. Among all privacy advocates and community of activists for digital rights, it became the flagship that profoundly sails the dangerous waters of powerful actors wanting to use the internet to gain more influence and control. Fake news is just stupid politics, but to many people it poses even existential threats to their efforts and businesses to keep the internet diverse and open. So what does Mozilla actually promise in this new initiative? Mozilla starts with saying that misinformation is a complex problem with roots in technology, cognitive science, economics, and literacy. Or to put it simply and much less vaguely, misinformation is a result of unskeptical trust in the source. The foundation is going to fund teams of developers and artists to target misinformation from technological standpoint. Well, this most likely means they are going to try to develop some methods of either labeling blacklisted sources, or maybe even non-whitelisted, or flat out making their browser to refuse rendering codes of those websites. Either of this is going to have a powerful effect because most people are not going to know about this and thus they won't change their browser. In other words, they'll be misinformed. Mozilla will also stand as a champion to teenagers to teach them web literacy and critical thinking. I don't know how they are going to teach them if their approach is to censor everything they don't like and make people trust everything they show them. This is exactly what happens when someone has a god complex. They stop making sense. Mozilla isn't entirely wrong on this one. It would be good to have initiatives that will teach young people some critical and analytical thinking. We should also make our schools to do the same, but everything has to be scrutinized critically. Stating some media outlets as credible or trustworthy sources kind of defeats the purpose. Mozilla also wants to develop VR and AR to take you through the data visualization of misinformation on the internet and internet health. This statement makes me want to question legalization of drugs because these people are clearly on something harmful that shouldn't be available. The main issue of this initiative is that Mozilla Foundation will now devote a portion of its resources to establishment propaganda efforts, money that could have been spent on improving privacy, net neutrality, and digital rights of internet citizens. Other big problem is that anytime someone is affected with this god complex and thinks they are entitled to authority of wisdom over the human species, they often forget that there is no such thing as a credible source. Anybody can lie. Even credible sources lie, like they did about Iraq having weapons of mass destruction or Russia hacking the US election, and like they try to present new media as alt-right extremists while attempting character assassinations by slandering successful creators with various labels ending in IST. Fake news propaganda reflects how pissed the establishment media are when people don't believe what they told them to and express their concerns in elections. People have agenda influenced by many different incentives. The more power or influence a structure absorbs, the more strings keep the structure tied to the stakeholders who want their promises fulfilled. Promises that were given in exchange for helping the structure grow where it is right now. This applies to every organization, business, corporation, government, agency, NGO. People do people stuff. The bigger the organization, the tighter its power structure is controlled by hidden agendas. The only moral difference is between those who succumb to their desires for more power and influence in pursuit of it at all costs, and those who realize their freedom ends where other person's freedom begins. Is it reasonable to advise people to stop using Firefox? Well, if we are going to blow emotionally over this, what really happens if you tell people to quit Firefox? They're gonna turn to Chrome, Edge or Safari, thinking they did the world a service by boycotting fake news censorship. In reality, We are in the middle of a battle for much more fundamental principles than stupid identity politics. For example, our digital rights are being stripped off with each new legislation, empowering spying agencies with more ways to invade our privacy. If net neutrality dies, fake news censorship will pale in comparison to what's going to happen if internet service providers are allowed to discriminate band speeds. 90% of media are already controlled by 6 major corporations, but this would erase the remaining 10% and make the mainstream the only stream you'll be able to get. Google, in combination with Chrome, manipulates search results accordingly to their political persuasion, prioritizes targeted advertising instead of relevant search, kills small businesses by overnight algorithm changes to price out their competition, and tracks all people surfing the web without their consent, handing over all that data to intelligence agencies around the world. I made a whole video about Google's monopoly abuse, so be sure to check it out. If people are to turn to these corporations, then I wouldn't advise to ditch Firefox. It's just really sad that Firefox has become another lesser of two evils to choose from. Fortunately, since Firefox is open source, anybody can fork it and develop basically the same browser without any of this corporate nonsense. If you are a Firefox user and are triggered by Mozilla bandwagoning with the establishment, you can use Waterfox or Palemoon. Both of them are open source web browsers based on Firefox and work on Windows, Mac and Linux. Brave is also pretty good. Links will be in the description. If this will slowly lead Mozilla to abandon its principles and start tracking users to better understand the fake news phenomenon as they declare in their initiative, then it's time to splinter it into 1,000 pieces and scatter it into the wind. Thanks for watching. What's your take on Mozilla going crazy for fake news? I'm interested in discussion, so leave your comment and share and like the video if you do. Subscribe to my channel for more coverage of cyber insanity in the future.